Hello, Mr. Gheorghiu.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Yourself? Ready for another...
Going on.
Going on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start. So, here you play against Robert Thoma?
We played in Liechtenstein in Shan against this master, I think he was from Netherlands, Thoma. And the opening will be very interesting because we switch a little bit, we'll see. Here we start like the so-called Slav defense, and Queen C2 is against this idea, which was very popular in that time, taking immediately in C4 and then B5, an idea that we saw already in my game against Aman, if you remember, the last time. But after Queen C2, Black is not forced to take, of course, in C4. He can play now Knight F6, normal move, or a small surprise, F5. After F5, our game from here with Thoma, after F5 we have a so-called Stonewall, the position from Dutch defense, which was preferred in that time by Botvinnik, between others, you know, important players. And after F5 is very complicated, of course.
But if he takes now, you take
with the queen, of course. And after B5, you go back to C2. And then we had that my game against
you don't
Aman.
lose a tempo with that?
No, it's okay. It's okay. White is already a little bit better anyway, and Black tries to equalize by playing later on the move C5. And we have this very nice example that we presented already against Aman, the very tactical one, you see. But that was a Soviet idea, and afterwards, after a few years, they came back to these classical positions, you know, F5 or Knight F6. Okay, after F5, Bishop F4 was a little bit new in that time. Normally, White continues here with G3, Bishop G2, and so on, you know. But the Bishop F4 is very interesting, we'll see. After Bishop F4, Knight F6, E3, now Black can choose between Bishop D6 or Bishop E7. After Bishop D6, it's clear that White is a little bit better because he controls the central squares and has initiative on the Black central squares. Therefore, White is always a little bit better. Not much, but, you know, it's very pleasant for White. After Bishop E7, it's complicated, and White has to demonstrate why he can have a better position in the next moves. So H3 prepares a very surprising idea later on. White wants to play very quickly G4, you see, for initiative, which is a little bit unusual in that kind of positions, of course, yes. Okay, so H3 castle, Knight C3, and Knight E4. And after Knight E4, White plays first Bishop E2, of course, and after the normal idea played by Black, you know, Bishop D7. This was the idea from Botvinnik, you know, and other important grandmasters of that time. Black prepares this line, you know, Bishop D7, E8, and later on to H5 or to G6. This is the idea, to have an active position for his bishop, you know. Okay, after Bishop D7, the small surprise G4. Now, of course, it's clear if Black takes in C3 and then in G4, the position is very bad because he opens the position for White, you know. White attacks very quickly, you know, has all the pieces against the Black king. So he has to be quiet and wait, you see, with Black. All right, Queen A5, considered the best move, the most active move here. And White now opens the position, you know, against the Black structure, you know. Later on, Black will have a small weakness on D5, like this. Okay, takes in F5, he takes back. Now we take back in D5, he has to take, of course. And now, castle, again, surprising, you know, after G4, you castle, you know. But it's okay, the White king is safe, and you play always later on for an endgame. You know, if Black arrives in an endgame, White has always a better chance because of the pawn structure. You know, the pawn structure is always better for White, you see. This is the idea.
Why?
You see, the weakness from D5. We play against some small weaknesses in that. Okay, so Queen B3. Castle, King H8, okay, and now Queen B3. Now we attack the pawn. has to react. What to do? I mean, bishop c6, the best move, of course. And now, because we attacked in d5 and in b7, bishop c6 protects both, you see. So okay, knight takes e4. White has to react very quickly, you see. And now knight e5, of course.
But why not taking with the other pawn?
If he takes with the other pawn, then we can open the position, much more than in our game by playing like this. D takes e4, knight e5, knight e5, bishop d5, of course, no? And now bishop c4, bishop c4. And after bishop c4, it's clear what to do here. Black has many problems. He has to take in c4 because otherwise he loses material, you see. And after queen takes c4, we threaten already very unpleasant knight f7 check. Is almost lost for black.
Okay.
Yeah. If we arrive to give a check, he resigns with black, you see. So of course he has to be very careful here already. So he has to take back with f pawn, knight e5 and queen b4. He has to play this because if not, he can't move. What can he play? If he played already knight d7, he could lose some material, or everything comes to tempo after bishop g4, or taking there, and maybe later on we try to take a pawn in d5 or in b7. It's clear better for white. So he wants to trade many pieces, as many pieces as possible, if possible, of course.
Okay. So you accept it?
Okay, we have to take, he takes, and now it's clear. White is clearly better, but if it's enough or not, it's another question, I say. So, okay, bishop there. Forced again, because if he played in d6, he loses, pair of bishops after knight f7 check or knight g6, and then he loses the black bishop, which is very bad for black. Okay, so now rook c1, and again, he has to try to find the counterplay. The only good move is a5, to have some play like this, For the moment, you don't win anything. I mean, you are clearly better, but it's not winning yet, you see. So, okay, f3, we try to open as quick as possible, of course. I mean, he takes, and I took with the rook. Maybe it was better to take with the pawn, but it was very complicated. With the bishop, yes. Because after bishop takes f3, it's bad probably to play knight d7 because he loses material, and he has many problems after bishop f3. Bishop takes f3. But rook takes f3 looks very good because you threaten already the other rook to f1, you see. If you arrive with the other rook in f1, it's very dangerous already for black. Almost lost already, So again, it's move by move. Bishop f6 is probably the only move. And after rook g3, again, very active now. And now, by chance, he has this move. I mean, he doesn't lose material, This is big chances. Yeah?
Why? You cannot take here?
I can take there, but if I take there, he takes back. And when you take with the rook? With the rook, he takes in d4 with the bishop, you see. And the bishop... is undefended in f4, you see.
Yes.
And it's not clear. White is okay, but it's not clear if he's much better, you see. So again, it's move by move, okay. So he took, and rook c7. Well, again, it looks fantastic for white, you see. But it's not so much. I mean, black can defend. So he goes back, of course, now. And after bishop g5, it looks... Black has many problems because if he takes in g5, he's almost lost, you see. Again, we attack in g7 with tempo, and if he loses a tempo by playing rook g8, we have time to attack again twice in d5 with bishop f3. And it's very unpleasant for black, you see. But he has a bad structure. I mean, he has to accept this fact that he has a bad pawn structure, but he can trade as many pieces as possible. It's very difficult to win this endgame, you see. So I have to take now in c8, you see. Okay. So he takes, we take in f6, he takes, and okay, bishop d3. Now it's clear. We have the result. He could trade many pieces, but any endgame is unpleasant for black. Maybe not lost immediately, but very unpleasant.
Because he has two weaknesses, right?
He has already two weaknesses, and finally he'll have many pawns on white. Therefore, black will lose the game, you see. Now, his threat, he wants to trade immediately the other rook, to be sure that he doesn't lose in middle game, pardon. So he plays immediately rook g8, very logical. Yeah. But after rook g8 he takes, and now we come with our king. The idea is very clear. We arrive in f4, So the difference will be very clear. He has many problems in endgame. Very active bishop for white, passive bishop in d7 for black. And later on, we put all our pieces on black. That makes the big difference, you see. So the continuation is forced, you see. King g3, king g7, now h4 on black now, again. So he has to play f5, because if he doesn't play f5, white comes immediately, king f4 and bishop f5, and we arrive, you see. Zugzwang. So at least like this, he has time to come with his king in f6, defending the pawns and the central squares, you see. Therefore, it's difficult to win. Now, again, we have to find a position to provoke another weakness, of course. For the moment, it's not yet winning, but very pleasant for white. We are both in time trouble. Black has to find always the only moves. In any position, the only moves. So before I took, and now b6, good move for the moment. Now we try to provoke another weakness. Big time trouble, I tell you. So bishop a6, h6 again on black now. So bishop b7. Fortunately for him, it was still possible to play king e6. Therefore, h6 was very good. Because if he doesn't have the move h6, now after king g5, white won immediately, you see. Well, if the pawn was not on h6. With the pawn in h7, the position is completely lost for black. After king g5. Yes. We arrive in g5 and then we play king h6 and it's finished. But okay, he has the pawn on h6. So now he goes back. And now for the moment it's not yet Zugzwang, you see. But now after this move, before the time control, this is again a bad move, because he put the other pawn on white, and now instead of two weaknesses, he has three weaknesses. Three weaknesses is too much,
But this was a mistake from him.
Mistake, right? Yeah, b5. But it's very difficult to find the move, because here, in any position, we threaten a position with Zugzwang, So it's not clear if it's Zugzwang immediately or not, or if it's Zugzwang later on.
So if you move
the bishop here and there, in one position it's always a Zugzwang.
But if he moves the bishop
he has to move only the bishop here, bishop e6 or bishop c8, only like this. It's the only possibility.
And then you move here?
It was b5, it was a problem if it's enough for white or not. But after b5, it's completely lost for black. Now we demonstrate how it's completely lost.
Okay.
So after b5, well, he was very tired. He was defending the very difficult position all the time, you see. Yeah. And now we see immediately the difference. We'll find a possibility to put our opponent in Zugzwang in any kind of position. We move bishop here and there and has only to defend a very difficult position again with only moves, and in some position is always a Zugzwang, you see. So okay, bishop f1, bishop e8, bishop e2, has to move again back, and now bishop d3. Now what can he do? It's not possible, and he's forced to play, unfortunately for him, has to play h5. Why? Because after king g6, king e5 wins immediately, Instead of king h5, he plays king g6. King e5 wins in 2-3 moves. If he plays king e6, he loses again immediately after bishop takes f5 check.
Yes.
If he plays the bishop in some other position, where? In c8 or in c6,
Yeah.
If he plays in c6 or in e8, he loses the pawn from f5,
Yeah.
Then what did he play here? The only move, h5, And after h5, we move back in f1, Zugzwang. And he resigned.
He resigned, yeah.
You see, now it's even worse, because you look the difference. All the white pawns are on black, and the king is very, very active in f4, and a very good bishop, of course, all the black pawns are on white. Instead of having 2 weaknesses, first of all, he had 3, and finally he has 4. Okay, you can defend 4 weaknesses, you see. But it's very instructive, you know. It's a very rare, but very instructive endgame, you see.
Yeah, because it looks very, it looks
equal. It looks even, you know.
Yes,
it looks even if if you look first time. But if you understand very well and it's high level, it's always completely winning such a position.
Nice.
And that makes the difference. It was a very nice demonstration how to win a winning endgame, finally, you see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, you're welcome.